Hello everyone, I have an execution gameplay on the map Foundation, and for this video I'm going to go over some general tips that I use in execution to try to help me succeed, and hopefully you'll find that some of these will be helpful for you as you play this game type. This has been a classic of Gears of War titles, and it's one of my favorite game types because it can go from 0 to 100 real fast, and it can get very heated in certain moments. Just a word about the gameplay. Once again, I try to choose gameplays that exemplify some of the points that I'm trying to make. In this one, you'll notice that there's a bit of a slow start, but it gets really heated and the match is extremely close. You'll also notice that there's a clip in here from the previous video I posted, so hopefully you won't mind that. It's just of one of the clutches, but you'll be able to see the rest of the round play out. So let's get right into some of the tips. If you recall in my team deathmatch tips video, I talked about how TDM was kind of like a marathon as opposed to a sprint. And now we're going to talk about the reverse for execution, which I like to conceptualize as more of a sprint than a marathon. And that's because you're going to have several rounds, at least 5, and each of them are going to be kind of isolated from each other in the sense that one round doesn't really affect the outcomes of the other rounds. They're all independent of each other. And this is useful to think about execution this way because it means a couple things. One of them being that how you initially start the round is so crucial to how you'll actually go about for the rest of the round. And unlike something like TDM, where you really only get to start fresh 2 or 3 times because that's how many rounds there are, in execution there are plenty of opportunities to kind of reset the strategy that you have, and that's a really important tip that I'm going to get into later. But just kind of running with the idea of a sprint, no pun intended. You need to be willing to be aggressive for power weapons and parts of the map on execution, because if you are way too conservative at the beginning, I find that you just give up everything that could be an advantage to you, and it's just a matter of time before you get picked up. So I'd say in execution, don't be afraid to get aggressive at the beginning, and in fact, sometimes you will, especially at a higher level of play, be forced to be aggressive. So with that said, another thing that is really important with execution is pre-planning at the beginning of every round. This might be something that is self-evident, but a lot of players will not really think too much about what exactly it is they hope to do at the start of each round. And at a higher level of play, it's important for every single player on your team to know exactly what it is they're going to do. And if you're flying solo, then at the very least, you should have an idea in your head of what you are going to do. And just to kind of give an example of why this is important, if you have 2 people doing the same role off the start of a round, you could just be wasting one person who would be better off doing something else. For example, if you're rushing for boom shot on the map Foundation, and 2 people are going with their smoke grenades and whipping them, well, that's kind of a waste when if they're whipping it, their smoke in the same spot, because that could be a player who's could be lancering or providing support in a different way. So definitely think about pre-planning, and then with that kind of implicit in what I was saying is make sure that everybody is being productive. This is not a game type where you want people to kind of be sitting back and waiting for things to pan out, or you don't want to be a sitting duck. You might be able to get away with it in certain game types like team deathmatch at certain points, but in execution, especially at the beginning, if you're not doing anything, then you're kind of detrimental, in my opinion, to the rest of the team, because that's an extra gun or an extra player that could be used for securing power weapons or positions on the map, who is just otherwise sitting out. And definitely don't try to be that player who sits back and then tries to clutch when all of his teammates die. That is no fun. So now onto a sort of different tip, and this is perhaps one of the things that I employ the most and I think is one of the most useful, is switching up your strategies. Execution, given that you're playing a minimum of 5 rounds, gives you so many different opportunities to run different types of strategies, and that is crucial for getting the edge on your opponent and keeping things fresh. And there's kind of 2 sides to the coin when I like to talk about this. So a lot of people on one side of the coin like to do the exact same thing over and over again, I find, in execution, whether it be they always run for sniper or they always run down the middle of the map. capitalize on these people. They do predictable things, just as you're watching right now. This player has come to the boom shot, drop shot area almost every time, I think, and this round I decided to rush him, picked him off, got us the map area. So capitalize on those people who are doing the exact same strategies and adapt to what it is they're doing, and you'll find that it is significantly easier to catch people off guard or pick up kills. Now, the reverse of this is that if you find yourself doing the same thing over and over again, be careful, because better players will catch on to that and they will adapt to that. So that's why it's important that, in my opinion, you're switching up the kinds of strategies that you're doing just to keep things fresh. Especially if you're losing. You know, there's the whole idea that why are you going to keep doing something that has failed you once or twice in the past in the hopes of it working again. I think it's much more powerful, in my opinion, just to kind of switch up where you're going. And in this gameplay that you're watching, which does go to around 9, I won't say who wins, I switch it up as much as I can, you know, torque bow area, grenade areas, running flanks. So that's one of the most powerful things you can do in execution, is switch up your strategy, especially if your teammates are in the same party as you and you can coordinate with them. Now, onto a couple more tips. Is the execution is going to present you with moments where you are either outnumbered or you have numbers, and understanding what to do in those situations can really help you as well. So let's start with when you have numbers. If things slow down and you find you and your team, there's 4 of you, say 3 of the other opponents, obviously you'll have to read the situation. But when I can, I try to slow things down to kind of think with my teammates, along with collecting power weapons. Because normally when you have numbers, you usually have greater access to the map and freedom, to the point where you can try to collect power weapons, which will help you pick off opponents in the long run. And that's the kind of thing that you want to have to close out a round a lot safer and easier. Now, another strategy that teams like to employ, especially in competitive, is when you have very close matches and you do have numbers, but you're kind of uncomfortable to have everybody push because it's too risky. Since there's no man up rule in execution, you basically have to push in if you want to win the round and make sure everyone's dead. So what you can do if you have numbers is you can have one of your teammates sit back if the time limit is running out. I know right now the time limit for execution is fairly high, but I think we'll have it reduced soon. And basically what you'll do is, let's say you have 4 people alive and you're pushing 2 people. You'll have one sit back at spawn or somewhere hiding, and the other 3 will push when there's just enough time to give your team a chance to try to win aggressively. And in the event that they die, since the time has already ran out by the time the other team, if they were lucky enough to pick everybody on your team who pushed, they won't have enough time to reach your final player. So I know that might have been a little convoluted, but what I'm trying to say is you can have one player sit back for insurance to make sure you don't lose the round, while the rest rush if you have numbers. Now, on the flip side, if you find yourself on the team that is outnumbered, once again, keep in mind that you do have the man up rule, which means if you survive the round, then in a sense, it is a win. That stalemate's a win because you were outnumbered and the odds were not in your favor to begin with. But more than likely, you're going to have to end up fighting. And in that case, it can be very challenging. And I find that one of the best things you can do in execution is make sure that you have the element of surprise. So that means if you're spotted, relocating, or if you're not spotted, taking advantage of the element of surprise and catching players off guard. Because the likelihood is they'll be looking for you, since you're kind of on the defensive, assuming all things are equal and you don't have, say, a boom shot. And in Gears 4, there is no option for people to ghost cam, at least in the core and competitive playlists, I believe. So that means that the enemy team's players who are not currently alive, although they can see the names hovering above you on their death cam, they'll have a much harder time tracking you, which should make it easier for you to kind of get the jump on people if you're outnumbered. And obviously, if you can secure power weapons that are currently not being swarmed by the team that has numbers, that's a huge deal too. So that is mostly what I have to say about execution. I'm going to let the rest of the match pan out. Some of the things I want you to notice, since this is actually the last round you're watching, and I did cut it up a bit, is how methodical it gets and how slow it gets, and how my teammate and I, who are friends and playing together, kind of made sure that we're, getting all the power weapons now that we're down to this last player, and we're not pushing him for no reason. We have all the time in the world. So that's another important thing, when you are outnumbering the other team, time really is on your side. So slow things down, think things through, and you'll have a much greater chance of success. Anyway, I hope that this video is helpful to some of the people who have been rocking execution but finding it to be quite challenging, which it is, by the way. And yeah, I hope these tips help. Thank you very much for watching. And if you have any tips of your own, feel free to share them in the comments.